Today's readings reveals one of the great secrets of the church and of the Christian life. The Lord promised that we'd always have an advocate, the Holy Spirit, to look out for us and help us. When we were baptized, God Himself, the Blessed Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, actually came into our souls and take up residency there. But have you ever wondered why Jesus ascended back into heaven 50 days after the resurrection, which we will celebrate next Sunday? Why didn't He stick around? Because He wanted to be close to us. He wanted to be able to dwell deep within our hearts and beyond earthly limits. If Christ had not gone to the Father, He would have remained limited by time and space as He was during His earthly life. But since now He dwells in body and soul in heaven, He can be present to each one of us at all times through the Holy Spirit. Since the three persons of the Trinity share the same nature, where one is, all three are. But for the sake of our understanding, the Church has long attributed God's presence within our soul, especially to the Holy Spirit, the most hidden of the three persons of the Trinity, whom we are preparing to welcome in the coming solemnity of Pentecost in 2 weeks' time, and in whom our confirmation candidates are also preparing themselves at the moment for the gift of the Holy Spirit when they receive the sacrament in confirmation. Tradition calls the Holy Spirit the sweet guest of our soul. He is the gift that brings all gifts given to us through Christ's generosity on Calvary. And the Holy Spirit is given to each one of us through our baptisms and confirmation, which comes to us through the sacraments of the Church. And the decisions made by the Church are always made with the help of the Holy Spirit, as we can see in today's first reading, where there is a dispute as to whether non-Jewish converts to Christianity are required to be circumcised and follow the Mosaic law of Jewish converts to Christianity. At first, the apostles did not preach the gospel to Gentiles, which are non-Jews. But Paul and Barnabas, when they saw Jews rejecting the gospel, started to preach the gospel to anyone who would listen. Some disciples in Antioch did the same, and soon Gentiles were embracing Christianity as well as Jews. But a debate arose about how the Jewish converts to Christianity needed to act, whether Jews or Gentiles. The first church council was invoked, the Council of Jerusalem, to discuss the matter. When the decision was made and the letter was drafted to communicate it, as we heard in the first reading today, the apostles don't say they've decided on their own. They say, it has been decided by the Holy Spirit and by ourselves. The church listened to the Holy Spirit and decided based on what the Spirit had to say. And she, the church, still does this today. But when it comes to ourselves, we can often forget that we always need to build on our personal relationship with the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is polite. He respects our freedom. He chooses to be a guest, not a dictator. He sits in the living room of our souls, loving us, eagerly waiting for us to put away our mobile phones, shut down our computer, and pay attention to Him for a few minutes, to listen to Him, to ask Him for guidance and strength. And whenever we do, He's able to increase what is good in us and cleanse from what is bad. The best way to grow in a knowledge of Christ through the Holy Spirit is through prayer. I remember once seeing a priest teach school children this lesson through an elegy of a milkshake, so you might have to use your imagination. But he was holding a glass of milk and he had the chocolate syrup. And he'd pour a little bit of the chocolate syrup, and of course, being a syrup would just sink to the bottom of the glass. And he'd say, at baptism, you receive the Holy Spirit. Pour some chocolate syrup. At your confession, more Holy Spirit. At Holy Communion, more Holy Spirit. when you received confirmation, the sacrament of confirmation, more Holy Spirit. So you can imagine now it's got a glass of milk with the chocolate sitting on the bottom of the glass. And then he asked the children, now what do I need to do to make this glass of milk what it's meant to be, like a chocolate milkshake? He pulls out a spoon and he stirs it until the chocolate mixes with the milk and it becomes what it's meant to be, the chocolate shake. Of course, that's a lesson for all of us as well, meaning our prayer life. We might receive the grace of the Holy Spirit in different ways, even when we receive the Eucharist. But unless we, so to speak, for lack of better words, stir that Holy Spirit within us, it won't remain alive in us. We have to get in the habit of good prayer life to really activate, to really build our relationship with the Holy Spirit. But sometimes our prayer life gets stunted because our concept of prayer also sometimes can be disordered. We think of prayers as merely saying prayers, but prayer is much more than that. The Catechism defines prayer as a vital and personal relationship with the living and true God. Prayer can take up many forms, the most common of which is saying prayers, but there's also Christian meditation or mental prayer. There is the rosary, there's adoration of the Blessed Sacrament. There is the perfect prayer, the Mass, which we are all participating in right now. And there is the ongoing prayer of conversing with Christ through the Holy Spirit as we go through our busy and difficult lives. And there is the simple prayer of just spending time with God, enjoying his presence through the Holy Spirit. And let us also look to the saints for inspiration, especially our candidates for confirmation. I don't know if they have already, but they'll be looking at saints and choosing a saint for their own confirmation to be named after. And all the saints, while they vary in their spiritual gifts, all have in common a love for the church, the Eucharist, and a deep prayer life through the grace of the Holy Spirit. So let us all imitate the saints and grow in our relationship with the Holy Spirit.